Do tell us, how did this new solo venture come about and what took you all this time?
Oh, well, there's life took me filled in the gap between my first solo album in 1995 and now, I guess, lots of things: Spandau Ballet, acting, making family. Um, but I think working with Nick Mason from Pink Floyd on his Source Full of Secrets project for the last 2 or 3 years gave me the confidence, I think, to explore my own music. Because with Nick, I'm a guitar player that's much more expressive, maybe, than what I was with Spandau Ballet, and I also sing lead. So I think that really helped me in my confidence, and there was that, and there was also sort of just getting to a certain age in my life and finding that I was just drawn to writing songs about things that were therapeutic for me, I guess, trying to work out how the relevance between my younger selves and the man I am now. Can I draw some dots between those those different incarnations of me? And I think that's a universal question, really, as we get older. And I think that was one of my first approaches to making this record. I wrote it lyric first, and then the music built around the words. Where with Spandau Ballet, it tended to be the other way around.
Was there like a springboard of a certain lyric that really got you started?
Do you know there was a it was funny, there was a track called In Solo, which is the first track on the album, and and it was about a woman going to work in a city, and I was trying to capture the mundane amidst the sort of the power of a major city with millions of people, something that Singaporeans know about a lot,
Yeah,
and how that city can make you feel sort of paradoxically isolated.
right.
And I think she was the first person to appear on this album in my head, and then suddenly a man appeared, and I found out that they were together, but sort of apart, and the story started to grow, and I think I became intrigued by them. There was also another song called "Waiting for the Band," which is about being a fan, and I started to think about my younger self and the thrill I got of being a fan, and how that thrill has never left me. I'm still waiting for the next big thing to come around the corner that's going to change my world. And once I started building these songs, it was like, I want to communicate these. Well, how best can I communicate them? Well, I need an album. And but songs were really flowing by then.
And I would imagine this happened during pre-COVID-19 times, right?
Well, I started writing most of the songs when I was on tour with Nick in America, funnily enough. And then I did have most of the songs finished before COVID, and I began the demos.
Hmm.
Um, but once COVID started and the lockdown happened, I was meant to go on tour with Nick Mason, and then because I couldn't, I decided to reach out to all these other out of work musicians, and Roger Taylor from Queen, for example, who plays
Wow.
drums on a track called Too Much, and various players who. So we did it over the internet. We did it remotely, as they say. And I built a lot of the music like that initially, working with a guy called Toby Chapman, who used to be the keyboard player with Spandau Ballet, and gradually I found I had a record that was sounding like it had humans playing in the same room, even though even though we weren't. When the
Splendid.
studios opened again in last summer, we got in and I could put orchestras on and big guitar sounds, etc.
By the sound of it, from what you told me, is the album some kind of a song cycle?
I think there are quite a few songs that deal in that first subject, um, of of tracing back my life and my youth and trying to bring it into the present. Um, and then there are a couple of songs that deal with this man and this woman I was talking about, and we follow their journey, and that sort of slightly bookends the album. It's all about me, even if I'm singing third person, and it's a story that maybe I didn't experience. I am inside that person because it is something from my life. You get to my age now, and you don't have to lie anymore. You don't have to make things up. You don't have to guess what things feel like. You've experienced a
Absolutely.
lot of stuff.
Yeah.
and you can find that you can put that into any song. So there's truth in everything.
How does the song Ahead of the Game, which is your new single, fit into this whole context of the album?
I'm not sure that that one does. That there are two songs on the album that really I sing in praise of my wife and our 20-year relationship. That one and a song called Our Light, which ends the record. Um, Ahead of the Game is I suppose how it fits in is there was a time when I put a lot of records out that sort of referenced who I was, what fed me musically. And some of those records were bands like was an artist like Todd Rundgren or bands like Steely Dan or
Wonderful.
some of that sort of really uplifting 70s sound.
Right.
And I, you know, I really want to make a track like that, you know. Um, Ahead of the Game was that music that came out of that, and it was extraordinarily uplifting. And I wrote it about how someone that is in your life can inspire you because they're always just ahead of the game. They're always one step ahead of you, you know, getting on with things. I'm a great procrastinator, you know. I'm nervous of change, etc. And but my wife isn't, and she's dynamic. And so this is a hymn to all those people who are in love with people who inspire them.
I'm glad you mentioned the 70s and Todd Rundgren and Steely Dan. I think when I heard that song, it has that wonderful, like you said, positive, uplifting feeling. And it made me think, what got you started on the song? Was it a guitar riff or was it started on the piano?
Yeah, no, on the piano, actually, it was that verse, ba, 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 that syncopated verse. I then sometimes switch between the guitar and piano when I'm writing. I mean, most of this album, I sort of started on piano. That was my first approach to the lyrics. But I'd always have an acoustic by me, and then I'll just be jumping on both really. So I think the chorus is definitely a guitar-based thing. And of
Hmm.
course, there's guitar solo in it, and there's a guitar intro in it, and a guitar outro in it, and it's like the great freedom of, you know, what you know. When I was in Spandau Ballet, it was always I have to write something here for the saxophone because that was, you know, Steve's plays the
Hmm.
sax.
Hmm.
I couldn't do so much guitar, and also guitar's gone out of fashion, and I'm determined to bring it back.
Right, right. And actually when you talk about the guitar, I have to tell you that this morning, the whole of this morning, I was just humming the tune of To Cut a Long Story Short because it's really catchy and it brings to mind your early guitar style of that scratchy funk riff that you have in your playing. And I'm sure you progress from there, but let's go back and do you remember your early guitar heroes?
Oh yeah, Mick Ronson.
Oh,
Was from, you know, David Bowie was my first guitar hero, and I can still hear him in my sound now. Nile Rodgers, of course, um, and Peter Frampton. I
mhm.
loved him when he was in Humble Pie, and then of course he had his solo records out. Um, and David Gilmour, without any question of a doubt.
And I suppose, you know, moving on to the achievement of the third studio album by the group, the sound had changed by then, and were there a new set of guitar heroes that came along?
But I think I was trying to, you know, really, the True album was more about me trying to be a songwriter, a pure songwriter, as opposed to a guy who's coming up with riffs and rhythms, you know. And I think the influence certainly was, you know, more songs rather than guitar. So it would be, you know, Al Green or Marvin Gaye or Hall and Oates, or, you know, I was trying to make a Blue Eyed Soul album, but it was
Right.
then a thin guitar sound, you know, sort of very transparent sound that I played on all the records. Then it was a clean guitar sound, like, you know, akin to a Nile Rodgers chic kind of thing, really. Um, you know, when yeah, I mean that at that time it seemed like a very different thing to be doing.
Hmm. And what about now? Have there been new guitar heroes coming along the way as well?
Well, you know, obviously playing the early Pink Floyd stuff with Sauce Full of Secrets has led me, because with Nick Mason we just do his early catalog, has led me to look at Sid Barrett and what he did with effects, and obviously David Gilmour, you know, because I have to work a lot in his style with Nick. Um, I'm always looking for. I'm not a shredder, so I don't
Hmm.
like any of those fast guys that are on. You know, you can find them all over Instagram, the internet. You know, just showing you how fast they can play. I'm into
Right.
melody. I'm into melody
Right.
and style and tone. Someone I want a guitarist that's going to break my heart when he plays. I don't want someone that's just going to frazzle my brain.
Well, you mentioned Barrett, and considering that he was in the early Pink Floyd, is there any particular track on your new solo album that has that kind of heady feel about it that recalls that era?
I don't think so. I think in what's happened is tracks like In Solo. I'm not scared of having longer instrumentals, and sort of chilling out a bit more with the music. I'm not scared of that anymore. The new single doesn't do that. Of course, it crams. It's a pop song, but occasionally on this album, I'm not scared of making a track, 6.5 minutes and really extending it. I think and I think working with Floyd has given me that. Um, I'm comfortable about doing that now, and I want to hear that kind of thing. And I think when you get a certain age when you're listening to albums, there are some songs where you want to really get inside it.
Mhm. And about this new album, when is it going to be scheduled out for international release? And what do you expect? Any particular
Well, as far as I
expectations you have about
know,
it?
it's available to pre-order now on any of the services. Vinyl as well. Done some really nice vinyl, and I think it's coming out globally on June the 18th, as far as I know.
Right.
Sony Music could update you on that, Chris, but
Okay.
I think that's pretty much what it is globally on June the 18th, and it's available now to pre-order.
What about yourself? I mean, what expectations might you have with this album?
Well, I I don't expect it's going to you know flood out and make number one everywhere. My
You
expectation
never know. You
my
never know.
expectations are to communicate. I want to communicate. I'm
Right.
when you make music that you like and you're interested and you think is valuable in some way, you want other people to hear it because they might find something in it that's valuable to them. And I think all art is about that. It's all about communicating. That's why we make it. We don't make it for financial reasons. We make it to heal everybody. That's what we do. And we instinctively, I go to the theater, I listen to records because I'm trying to find a bit of myself in other people's art. So I think that's my expectations. What I'd like is for people to enjoy this record, to find something in it, to not dismiss it, and for it to last.
I think that's really important. And on that note, I want to say thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you, Chris. That was great.